Hello, everybody, and welcome back to We Bought a Mic, here with your holiday movie watch guide. Welcome. My name's Ernest.
I am the little gold man himself. My name is Hunter. Hunter Oscar Mobley.
Oscar, I don't think would be a good middle name for you. Doesn't fit.
No, it doesn't. I was trying to think. You haven't seen it yet.
Golden
I was
Globe. Hunter Golden Globe Mobley.
Harvey.
Well, I do.
Hunter.
I will say, as somebody who just got a very nice for your consideration package in the mail today from a studio that I won't mention, I can be bought. I want you to know that, listeners. Right now,
it was Miramax.
Studios. I can be purchased. My body.
We're off to a great start, boys. Hunter's voting for Shakespeare in Love for Best Picture. Welcome back on Zoom. In this pop culture podcast, this pop culture awards cast, getting buzzy, getting awards buzzy with our catch up here.
Mm-hmm. Getting buzzy. And good bait, bad bait time. We are fully in Oscar bait season now. It is hot and heavy with the slew of movies that people are going to be talking about for the next 5-6 months. The Oscars aren't until late May, guys. So this is going to be a marathon. And some of them I'm happy to continue the conversation on, and some of them I would rather they just kind of fade away into the ether.
So what we got in store for you today, we're going to get this out before the holiday, the Thanksgiving holiday, and you can return to this just throughout the end of the year to see kind of what you should expect from a lot of these winter movie releases, what you should see, what you should skip. Between Hunter and I, we've seen like a dozen movies that we've gotten to see early. So Drew's going to be our kind of our liaison of the people.
I decided for the sake of the pod to not watch any of these movies.
You need to be the correspondent of the common man.
Yeah, I could play the role of the oaf. It's just going to be really hard for me, but I've been sticking it out to like, I want to watch these 3 hours of freaking bait movies so bad.
Well, Drew, we should say, like, you haven't seen it yet, but you bought the Till action figures. You were so in and down for this movie that you just wanted to. We had to talk you back from like really going all in and dressing up as Till for Halloween this year.
I didn't know what it was about, and I would like to apologize. At least in my defense, I did just have the mom, and it was very like when you press the button on her, she says, "They all need to see."
Okay, good. Yeah, because I was about to say, like, goddamn, like, which action figure are we talking about here?
No, just the.
Well,
mom.
Drew's he only had the white ones.
Oh, okay. Yeah. All right. So we're gonna start things off here. Okay, so just a little background here. I got a Google Doc pulled up that has roughly like 15 movies on it. I think there's probably no way that we're gonna get through all of these. So I've kind of tiered them in order of priority, of kind of like the biggest ones, and then like if we have time, we can get to some of the other ones later. But if anything, it can be sort of like a quick fire, like rapid fire recommendation at the end, just to get them in. But I want to start with one that the three of us have seen, and it's the Banshees of Inesherin, which is out right now in theaters. And it's a small movie, so I'm sure it'll get the premium video on demand treatment within the next couple of weeks. You'll be able to see it at home before the end of the year, but it's out in theaters right now. And I actually have a review that I wrote up on the site weboughtamic.net, so you can see my thoughts there. Spoilers, I love the movie. It's one of my favorites, probably a lock for my top 10 of the year. But I want to hear what you guys thought. So Banshees of Inesherin, Irish people, Colin Farrell. Martin McDonough back. What did we think?
Drew, this is a Realm movie.
Ireland?
The Realm is 20th century Ireland. So were you able to get enveloped in that world, or how are you feeling?
I didn't love it. The realm aspect component of it. Once I was able to pass that, like the physical corporeal form, I really love this movie. It was more or less almost exactly what I would expect, combining my knowledge of Martin McDonough and the trailer. I think the trailer does a pretty effective job of surmising what you're about to get, because it reminded the premise almost reminded me of First Cow, in how aggressively simple it is. Like it's so simple, in fact, that like not even a children's movie would be about this. Maybe an episode of a children's TV show would be about a guy who doesn't want to be friends with another guy no more. And then rolling from there, that works because Martin McDonough is at his best when he's writing very simple, short characters who don't speak much but say a lot with the words that they do say. And that's what the simplicity of that plot does as well. Like it really accomplishes a lot under the guise of something really, really stupid, which is, I think, what he's usually aiming for. And I think this is probably his biggest success for me. I haven't seen In Bruges in a while, but I think I like this more than In Bruges.
Yeah, it seems like a spiritual sequel to In Bruges. It's a reunion of Colin Farrell and Brendan Gleeson. But it seems so much more mature. And obviously, how could it not be if there's a decade in between the two films? Everybody that worked on it is more mature. But I think that it is attempting like deeper themes and it's more successfully like kind of getting at something a little bit more resonant. That's not just like funny crime, crazy dark comedy antics. You know, it's a little bit more kind of meaningful than that surface level read. But Hunter, what did you think?
So I mean, overall, I did really enjoy this movie as well. I know I came out of it watching it and I wasn't as high as a lot of other people in our screening, specifically because I think that the first hour or so of this movie is like perfect. Like if it just kept that tone throughout of just Colin Farrell being everyone's favorite beta who just is not getting a fucking hint about a guy just not wanting to be his friend anymore. All that shit works so well. And I think that Martin McDonough kind of makes it a little bit more dramatic as the film goes on and tries to add a little bit more commentary of this point in time in Ireland and what's kind of happening in the surrounding areas. And that stuff just didn't really work for me as well. Just didn't quite nail that tonal juggling act that you look for in a lot of these movies. But I mean, Colin Farrell and Brendan Gleeson, just their dynamic is one of my favorite 1-2s in any movie I've seen this year. Like I just want to see any scene between the two of them because it's just absolutely electric. Carrie Condon is also great, even though she's kind of a little bit victimized by some of the aspects plot-wise that didn't work for me as well in this movie. She's still, I mean, she's of course our Better Call Saul queen. So gotta support her in anything.
What does she do in Better Call Saul?
She's the daughter of Mike's daughter.
Oh,
yeah.
Mike's daughter. Wow. I didn't even catch that. Wow, yeah. That's amazing. Also, Barry Keoghan is in there.
Yes, being a little shithead.
He's more than in there. He's my favorite little rascal ever.
He's always up to something. Every time he pops up in any movie, it's like, okay, here we fucking go.
I mean, if he was your son, you'd beat the shit out of him too, right? Like you'd abuse that kid.
I'd make him become the Joker.
Yeah.
I think this is a really strong cast, and I think the way the story plays out is really effective. I mean, without kind of giving away all the revelations in the movie, it goes from being this really funny, almost like broad comedy to this insanely dark, just unraveling. It really is a movie that's kind of split in these two halves. And I thought that there was a lot of really strong connective tissue in those two halves, and it didn't feel like anything was unearned or that it kind of went off a cliff and became something that wasn't true to the original setup of the story. I think everything sort of worked really well thematically, and I don't know, the sadness and the humor just it was just really well kind of melded together for me.
Yeah, and it was, I don't know, because I from the jump I really couldn't stand Three Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri. At this point, the general consensus on that movie has shifted a little bit more toward the negative than it was back then, definitely. But it was because Martin McDonough was overstepping his bounds, trying to sort of implant his sensibility onto pretty complicated American politics.
Yeah.
When this is like his bag, like where
he's
they
coming
are,
home,
and everything happening in the background plays into it. First of all, just the fact, so we're about 100 years ago, I believe. We're in like 1923.
Yeah.
And,
which is wild. Like, I did not expect that. For some reason, that just was not something I was aware of going in.
Yeah, well, you don't really know for like maybe the first half hour, because by the fits everyone's wearing, it definitely seems like 20th century. But then they're walking
the houses,
they're walking through what look like borderline ruins. But
that's just what it looks like over there, like right now, though.
At any given point.
Yeah.
I was reminded of the Mulaney bit about how people in the old days were just really bored. There wasn't anything to do.
Yeah, you just drank a Guinness at the local pub.
Yeah, and so because that's really what this movie's about. It's about the banality of existing and how like you can just kind of make yourself go insane thinking about it. About how like days are just slipping by and nothing is happening on this, on this weird ass little island they're on. Inesherin is the name of the island, by the way. It's not the name of my favorite red-haired British rascal singer, which is what I went to the movie thinking. But that plays all very well, and then also the fact that on the mainland a civil war is happening.
Yeah.
Like a lot of the time thematic things like that don't work for me, but I really love that was going on, because it's almost, they almost touch on discussing the parallel in the movie between like this guy who just decided he I don't want to like you anymore, because I would rather, I don't want to
talk to you.
Yeah, I want to switch things up. I want to try to possibly be significant in some way. I think a lot was said without many words being said about why that fact that a lot of war can sort of be explained by that exact same metric. It's just men trying to be significant and like starting a bunch of shit for no reason at all, other than we got to do something. Yeah, we got to do something before we're dead. But
also the idea of like these guys have been friends forever. And to me, it's almost like this fable of like every once in a while they get into a spat. Like they're always up to something, these two fucking guys. But this time it's a little different. This time they're taking it a little bit too far. And that's the story that we see play out. And to tie it to the Civil War, it's like, I think this, Ireland's a very small nation, and I think the root of that war was Protestants versus Catholics. And in a lot of cases, it was brother against brother, and family member against family member. So to have it be tied to this friendship is like, these guys, like, they love each other. They're always going to love each other, but they're still at odds for some just kind of nonsensical reason. And it doesn't change the fact that they will always care about each other. But at a certain point, like, there's a rift that can't be ignored and sometimes can't be fixed.
I think that like one of the things about this movie that I loved about it's kind of played for humor, because these are like two grown-ass men that are having this argument. But I don't want to get into too much specifics of the movie itself to like get in spoiler territory. But the reason why this rift happens is because Brendan Gleeson fancies himself, at least, as like an an intellectual, somebody who wants to leave a lasting mark, leave a lasting impression on Earth. He's like, all we do every day is just sit around and fucking drink beer and talk about what was in your fucking donkey shit. And like, I want to do something else with my life. And there's kind of that element that you have whenever you're growing up around like the age of like 11, 12, 13, where you start not just being friends with kids who are like 3 doors down from you, and you actually can like make friends based on your own interests.
Yeah.
And you kind of see that point where you're just like, you bore me. I'm not interested in hanging out with you.
Done.
We don't have anything in common. But that's the thing is, like, you make that realization whenever you're a child, not when you're like in your late 30s. And that's one of the things that's like really great about this movie. And one of the things that like makes it work so effectively, the screenplay, is whenever it's very childish in like the most natural way possible.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it is a natural instinct. Is I think especially a dudely thing. Like this is the 2 dudes that are inside all of us.
That's exactly what I was gonna say. Yeah.
Yeah, one of us wants to just kick it, and just shoot the shit every day, and then the other one's like, I was meant for something more,
And it's always,
and the
it's
answer
always a struggle.
Yeah, and because the answer really lies somewhere between the two.
Yeah.
Obviously it makes a lot of sense for a auteurist filmmaker to explore that topic, because those are typically the dudes who chose one side pretty firmly.
Right. And that struggle with that choice in their lives and with their families, I'm sure.
Yeah, that's
Mm-hmm.
exactly. Like if you were an auteurist filmmaker who is like that hands-on with your works, like you picked Brendan Gleeson.
Yeah.
And it can work out, but also like, you could start going a little crazy there.
Yeah.
You might lose a finger or two in the process.
Yeah, and the movie, like, it makes you really sit and think for a while, because it's just like, these 2 guys, they take things so far and things get so out of hand, literally, and you just think that, like, if only Colin Farrell's character would have just shut the fuck up for a second, and not had to like say random bullshit all the time, and respected his friend's desire for silence. And if only,
to be honest, Guy and I have gotten close to this level before with each other, when I just won't stop.
But if only
we've gotten close to it before.
If only Brendan Gleeson would have just been like, you know what, like, I'm just gonna put up with this guy's shit. I'm just gonna sit here and I'm gonna tune him out. I'm just gonna disassociate while he blathers on, and everything's gonna be okay.
That sounds great.
Sounds very healthy.
What else are you gonna do? Are you gonna be like the sister?
Yeah,
and just
they're not exactly
fail?
like therapists in 1920s Ireland right now. So
he's just because
the therapist is the priest, actually. Like the priest who's just listening to everyone's the island gossip and just like, what do you want to repent for? Is it a crime to not be friends with the man anymore?
It's a great movie. It's fun. It's sad. At times the pacing started rubbing me a little bit, but nothing severe. I think there are 2 distinct halves to the movie that are it's bisected by an event that then like escalates from there, that Brendan Gleeson does. And right as I was sort of starting to grow tired of what was happening in the first half, the second half begins. So overall I was pretty happy with the way things went.
Yeah, I'm a big fan. It's a big recommend for me. Just a lot of ideas to chew on and great fucking performances. I hope this movie gets recognized come award season. I think Colin Farrell is just, please give this man some love. He's phenomenal in this movie.
So I wanted to kind of, oh man, king of the brows. I wanted to kind of organize this as like, so what do you think are this awards movie's chances? I think
screenplay.
I think I don't know if you guys have looked at Best Original Screenplay this year. It is such an insanely loaded category between Everything Everywhere All at Once, The Fabelmans, which we're going to get into that, Banshees of Inesherin, Tar, Babylon, Triangle of Sadness, After Sun, Decision to Leave, Nope. Like it's a great screenplay year. And I think it's going to be a lock for a nomination there.
And then
I think Best Picture. I think
Picture,
that
I hope so. Yeah, I hope
it's
it doesn't get booted out.
Best Picture has to be 10 nominees this year, so I think it has a good shot there.
Oh my God, it's number 3 for Best Picture on Gold Derby right now. Holy crap.
What's ahead? Fabelmans?
I don't think that's gonna...
Fabelmans and Everything Everywhere, yeah.
It's kind of early to look at the odds right now, but like I feel like, Top Gun Maverick is still in the mix. Tar, Babylon, nobody has seen. Avatar, nobody has seen. So who knows really with that? I do think that Colin Farrell actually now has a legitimate chance at winning Best Actor because we have not seen The Whale yet, but The Whale has not gotten good buzz at all. A lot of people are just really, really not into that movie. Yeah. So I could still see,
lots of people have won Best Actor for mids movies, though.
Yeah, I could see our guy Brendan Fraser still getting the love and still getting a win, but his odds, I'd say, have definitely declined in the last couple weeks since some people have seen The Whale and people have seen Banshees.
Mad respect to Colin, mad respect to his eyebrows.
Incredible.
They do some shit that ain't nobody doing in this business right now.
He looks so forlorn.
Do we think Brendan Gleeson? Brendan Gleeson could get it?
Yeah, I mean, if it's not
supporting
super crowded.
Supporting actor is pretty wide open. There's like Kiyu Kwan, who I think is considered the favorite right now, but
dude, he's gonna clean up. I mean, that might be the one thing that movie just has a lock.
I mean, I'd love to see it for Kiyu Kwan. Love that guy. Paul Dano for Fabelmans, Judd Hirsch. Maybe. Who knows?
We'll see. We'll keep an eye on it as it gets closer.
Brendan Gleeson is so interesting because he strikes me as someone who would be a lot younger than he looks. You know what I mean? Like I know he looks old as shit, but you would find out he's like 48 and you'd be like, oh Jesus. No, but he's 67 years old.
Yeah.
67, damn. And he's still out there. He busts a kickflip in 1920s Ireland. He invents Tony Hawk Pro Skater.
He's just popping late in life, and it's very cool to see. Like Brendan Gleeson hosting SNL is a very funny thing at age 67. When his son hasn't even, I'm pretty sure Dom Knoll hasn't even fucking hosted.
I didn't even realize that was the son. Yeah, are they? They're related, man.
What would Dom Knoll have hosted for? I can't think of anything. It's not like he was going to host for being like 7th lead in a Star Wars movie.
About time?
I don't.
Ex Machina.
Sure.
Yeah. Okay.
The thing is, there is an asterisk about hosting SNL in the year of our Lord 2022 because there have been a lot of rumblings that a lot of the classic go-to hosts do not trust this writing staff and cast to make them look good.
Yeah.
So it would be like a dent in there.
You never want to be the funniest person the week that you're involved with SNL, and unfortunately, that has been the case with almost every comedian who's taken over SNL this year.
Yikes.
Dark time.
All right, well, that's the Banshees of Inesherin. It's in theaters right now, coming very, very soon to video on demand. I think it's a big old recommend from the three of us. Drew, I wanted to give you the spotlight here for a second, since this is going to be a very Hunter and me heavy episode. I want you to talk a little bit about Weird, the Al Yankovic story, because I saw that you had.
What is this looking like in the awards?
Yeah, what's the Daniel Radcliffe Oscar run looking like?
No, it's not. I was seeing a lot of screenplay buzz. They thought it was really crazy, but then they found out that those songs already existed because they were like, what the heck? You made a song but about food? That's crazy. So yeah, I like to support parody in all forms. It's it's not in its best it's not in its halcyon days at this point. The art of parody, the art of film parody in particular. That said, I didn't go into Weird, the Al Yankovic story, with the highest expectations. It is a Roku original.
Yeah, you can only watch it with ads in the Roku app.
Only you cannot skip those ads.
You cannot pay.
And it's really
$3.99.
And they bust your balls so hard because they give you like a good clean 30 minutes with no ads. So you're like hypnotized, and then they start and it's every like 5 fucking minutes. You're like, you pieces of shit.
Oh my God. What are we doing? What are we doing? Roku, you don't need to make original content.
I think this movie would have gotten made regardless, because it has a lot of like the classic players behind it. Like Scott Aukerman is the
CBBCU.
Yeah, exactly. CBB. So that means it has UCB behind it, which is just like a treasure trove of comedians and producers. It also has Funny or Die behind it, to the point that they get like a little production stamp before the movie starts, which is really funny to see. It's like, what fucking year is it? But that is because the guy who directed this and wrote it, Eric Apple, in 2010 he made a fake Weird, the Al Yankovic story trailer on Funny or Die. Like he made a fake trailer for a fake biopic that starring Weird Al, just as like a funny little sketch idea. And for some reason, it is now 12 years later and they have gone and made it.
Someone was scraping the bottom of the barrel there. I wonder if this is like a residual from Quibi. Like, because all the Quibi stuff got ported over to Roku. What if Quibi was like, we're going to make Weird
a Quibi CISO joint project to make the Weird.
This feels more CISO than anything. That's a good call.
It's just Weird Al as IP. That's what we need. That's what we need. And it's going to be a Roku original. Yeah, the thing that organizes your app and the homepage that weirdly shows like a sliding view of like a city landscape. Yeah, it's an original made by those guys. So what an insane thing that's happening.
The biggest concern though that I had going into this movie, because I'll watch any dumb parody, like that could be great. Absolutely. The biggest concern I had was the correct concern I have, which is that we have already seen Walk Hard. Which is a very
parody to end all parodies.
A very good, like well-made, parody that was ahead of its time of musical biopics. So it is a great twist on it that this is the story of an actual guy that is turned into a stupid tropey parody movie. But the fact that it's Weird Al is almost not super important to the story because of that, if that makes sense, because everything is so silly and heightened, and like the plot of it doesn't follow what actually happened to him. That's the joke, but it also is what makes the Weird Alness of it all a little disposable. And it is, so there's a lot of fun to be had in the movie. I think the first hour is definitely pretty solid. Like you get your good gags, you get 1 zillion cameos, like the exact way you would think, considering, because my benchmark going into this was Between Two Ferns, the movie. Because Scott Aukerman made that movie, and it was another like UCB style, like clearly, like, anytime the script was kicked around in a writer's room, nobody said no to anything. They just put in whatever joke.
Pack in the jokes.
Yeah, and this movie definitely has that feel. Like just it's wall to wall with jokes. They're not all great. The movie itself, I guess, is it just feels disposable. I wonder if I'm biased inherently because of the Roku, because you have to watch on a Roku. But it does. It feels like a bubble movie. It feels like a sign of the times. It feels like the movie that breaks the camel's back and all Hollywood comes crumbling down.
Do we think that it's going to get like a Criterion 4K release in the coming months, or
with ads?
And
they will mail it to your house. You're not allowed to pay for it.
Drew, I want to ask, because I've watched things on Roku before, and it's just the same 3 ads that play over and over again. Was there diversity in the ads, or was it just the same ads repeatedly? Did you watch like the same car commercial over and over again?
Same shit.
That rocks. It's like
that's
the Pluto
disappointing
style of just watching the same 3 things over and over again.
Listen, it's a funny enough movie, and if you want to watch a funny enough movie, you should watch it. It could be a little shorter. It you get to see all your favorite funny people show up for like shoot for a single day. Particularly, there's a pool party scene where anyone like us who just like likes comedy people, you're getting your dopamine hits of like, ooh, Paul F. Tompkins, ooh, Jean-Marc Tacone.
It's Avengers Endgame for like comedy Bang Bang guests.
Yeah. It's Avengers Endgame for beta male manipulators.
I was gonna ask Drew because Roku original, that's never gonna happen again. But I think that the groundwork has now been laid for Pluto to get into the original TV landscape here.
Oh my!
So we're gonna have to like brainstorm a pitch for what the first Pluto original film is gonna be, because I feel like it's unfortunate that Weird got taken, because that is a perfect Pluto IP project.
It's much like Weird, it's like it is a biopic, like a gritty biopic of a personality of a personality that we all know and love, especially if you're on Pluto TV. It's the John Taffer story.
Oh, that's good. That's
with cameos from Jerry Lewis.
Yeah. and he has to be played by John Taffer. Would only greenlight like Chris Evans to play him, because he I think he genuinely probably thinks that he's hot as fuck.
I was thinking of Jerry Springer.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. I think that Jerry Springer a Jerry Springer show would work really well.
Jerry Springer had a movie in the 90s. Did you guys know that?
About his life? Like a memoiristic?
A fiction?
Not a biopic, but there was a movie just like how Howard Stern did. Jerry Springer had one.
Oh.
I knew about Howard Stern having his own little
Ringmaster.
Google lists Jerry Springer as the former mayor of Cincinnati. Like that's like his main thing.
Most well known for.
Yeah.
And when is he going to get back into politics? It's a great time.
Host of Baggage, Jerry Springer.
Okay. Yeah, he stars as a fictional version of himself named Jerry Farrelly, host of a show similar to his own show called Jerry. So yeah, this movie it's definitely watchable. It's if you want to watch a fun comedy, watch it. It's also kind of stupid and
sure.
Weird Al.
And that's okay.
I don't have an incredible connection to Weird Al because he genuinely is just someone who kept on plugging away at like a very simple idea over the years, and it's very impressive what he's accomplished.
His niche,
but it's one of those things where it's just like, wow, no one had really done that, huh? Before this guy, no one had thought that what if I took these words in this song and I just made it about like food.
So you guys weren't Weird Al kids?
Well, that one album that White and Nerdy is on,
Straight Out of Linwood. That was a big comeback for him.
I got so sucked into that album, man. Like that was like a bad addiction that I had to that album. It was like I was hooked on that shit, man. I'm off the stuff now. This might make me relapse. I can't watch this movie.
Maybe you can't watch this thing. I have to tell you guys something. It's something I don't know if I've ever told this to you on or off mic, but I loved Weird Al whenever I was in like elementary school. Like I think that I had a CD or two of his from LimeWire that like I burned. It was just like a parody disc of like mostly Weird Al songs, but also just other parody artists. And for my 5th grade talent show, I did a performance of what I bought on eBay to like I Want It That Way. And I had a pet rock. I had like
all the
things from the song I bought on eBay.
Did you do
it was probably the coolest, the sexiest I've ever been in my life. I peaked at 10.
Did you do the boy band dance moves?
Yeah, of course. It was like just me up there.
Oh, amazing. Is there a clip of that? Can we show that?
Maybe we'll have to put it up on the socials somewhere. Yeah. I'll find it. I'll do some digging.
All right. Well, that's Weird, the Al Yankovic story. Or is it just Weird, the Al Yankovic story? No colon.
No, very it's not important. Like fucking like no, it's not like Foster the People.
Weird, comma, semicolon, dash. What are we doing?
Yeah, weird M dash, the Al
Yeah.
Yankovic story.
It's out now exclusively in the Roku app for free with ads. It's a soft recommend from Drew, with some caveats if you know what
Yeah,
you're getting into.
Yeah, it's what it looks like.
All right, so I'm gonna hit you all with probably the antithesis of weird, the Al Yankovic story, which is the new Luca Guadagnino film, Bones and All, starring Timothy Chalamet.
I don't know if that's true. You came out of this and you said this movie is weird, which means that it's definitely not the antithesis of that. It would actually make it a synonym, really.
Sure. So we actually did shout this out on the episode that Joey guested on because he saw it out of New York Film Festival.
Yeah.
But this movie is now out in theaters. So I got a chance to see it. And this is going to be another recommend with caveats. Because as we mentioned in that episode, I needed to be convinced about this movie because it is a cannibal romance. Which is already like, that's going to turn off like 85% of moviegoers. But that being said, I love Luca Guadagnino. I want to go back and watch all his other stuff, but the Suspiria remake and Call Me by Your Name are both really, really awesome movies. And I think this might be better than both of those movies.
Woo!
Yeah. Because I did revisit the Suspiria remake recently, which is amazing. I fucking love that movie. Hasn't dropped at all in my estimation. But there's something about Bones and All that to me feels like something I've never seen before.
Wow.
A friend of the pod, Adam, and I think Joe was comparing it to like a Terrence Malick movie. I'm not a big Malick head, so that's not like a frame of reference for me. So maybe if I have seen like Days of Heaven and shit, then I could be like, okay, so it's like that. But because I haven't, this just seemed like something really, really unique. And the cannibal piece is not really as gross as I was worried it would be. I mean, there is plenty of gore and just intense kind of violent scenes in the movie, but it's never gratuitous. Because what this movie is doing is it's using cannibalism as sort of this symbol, as this metaphor for sexual desire, for addiction, for obsession. It's kind of this prism to explore other themes and subjects and ideas. And the way it does it is very, very interesting and super unique and fascinating. And there's just something about like the texture of the movie. It's juxtaposing these incredibly like gory, violent images with this very melodic acoustic score by Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross. Just another fucking banger from these guys. When I was sitting in the theater, I was like, who is doing this fucking score? And then I sit there in the credits and then it comes up and I just like put my hands up and start cheering because I'm like, yes, these fucking guys just did it again, man. I was just so like kind of floored by this movie. I mean, again, it has that big fucking asterisk of the whole cannibal thing, which is going to be a huge obstacle for people to get over. But I loved it. Guys. It's a big recommend for me. It's Bones and All.
Also, I don't know. Is it that off-putting of a thing for most of the type of people that would see this in the first place? Because if this is a movie that's for like filmy people, I feel like generally they'd have a more open mind. Sure. I don't think we're trying to like bust blocks with this one.
Yeah,
right?
but it's
how
not
gory is it? Like,
it has some gory stuff. Yeah. I mean, there's like shots of them like chomping into fucking people, you know?
So it's not going to win like best picture then is what you're saying. It's going to like old ass white dudes in Hollywood are not going to gel with this movie.
No, but it doesn't, the way the movie is kind of edited, like shot and edited. It's never like, oh, let's like really like make you throw up with how gross this is. You know, it gives you just enough and then it cuts away, or it frames it in a way where it's just like you're not really like in the guts. You can see like just enough to get the picture. It's a really Luca, man, like he's so talented. He's so talented. He knows exactly what to do. It's all very measured. It's all very precise. And these performances, y'all, like Timmy, dude, oh my God, he's so good in this movie.
Timmy,
he is unfucking believable. One of the most unique characters he's played yet. He plays this guy named Lee, and he just owns the screen, man. And for a while there, I wasn't sure about his chemistry with Taylor Russell, their whole romance that starts to blossom. I think the first half of the movie, you are very unsure about like, these two, do I really see them together? But by the end, I was sold. Their acting, it's kind of undeniable. By the end, you're just like, yep, that I'm here. I'm here for this. I'm here for these two. Mark Rylance is in there. He's a creepy motherfucker in this movie. Just being super like you see this guy walking around the street, you're like, that's a fucking cannibal. Do not allow him near your family. He will eat them. Just the creepiest motherfucker in the world. Who else? Michael Stuhlbarg is in there for like one scene, and it's like one of the best scenes in the movie.
How is Taylor Russell in this movie?
Because it's kind of her
absolutely
story.
Loved her like a few years ago whenever Waves came out, and she hasn't really done anything since then.
She's fantastic. I mean, this is her story. We basically follow her journey. Her father is played by I believe his name is the guy from Moonlight, Andre.
Yes, it is Andre
Holland. Yeah.
That's what it is. So he pops up in the beginning as the dad. He's only in it for a little bit, but his presence is throughout the rest of the movie, because essentially like he gives up on her. He's like, I can't help you anymore. You're on your own. I did everything I could. You're sick. You're not normal. And I can't deal with this. I can't keep like helping you as you become this cannibal. And the movie never uses the word cannibal. You never hear the word cannibal. You never hear the word cannibalism. And I think that's a very deliberate choice, and it lends to this thing that I was saying earlier about like how it's like this prism for symbolizing other things, like sexual awakening, and even like this idea of feeling like you don't belong and wanting to find people like you that you can connect to. So it can be like this analog for homosexuality. So it's trying to do kind of a lot with this idea. It's trying to frame it and reframe it in a lot of different ways. And I just found it really, really interesting and really fascinating. And I highly recommend it. I can't wait for you guys to get around to it and let me know.
Yeah, I buy in. I'm in on that one.
I'm really excited, especially hearing that it's more, because I mean, I was definitely the lowest on Call Me by Your Name out of the three of us, just because I thought that movie looked beautiful. And I thought our boy Timmy was amazing in it. I wasn't as sold on Armie Hammer and his role, and turns out like good job by me.
Yeah.
I was like, I feel like he just wants to take a fucking bite out of Timmy in every scene that he's in with them. I'm really excited for this.
You taught him well.
Yeah. Really, really excited.
It's Bones and All. It's out right now in theaters, and I'm sure it'll go to streaming within the next month and a half. I'm confident of it. It's a small little movie. It's not going to play for weeks and weeks. So check it out. Hunter, why don't you pick something out of this list, or do you want me to pick for you?
No, so I'll go ahead, because whenever you were going to Bones and All, I was supposed to go see Bones and All with you, and then a hurricane came through Central Florida and moved a bunch of things around in the schedule, and I already lined up seeing a different movie and couldn't make it to Bones and All. But instead, what I saw is going to be a movie that is hashtag running this year, and that is She Said, the Maria Schrader film that is goes into the New York Times expose that really kind of takes down Harvey Weinstein and exposed all of the sexual assault allegations and harassment and toxic workplace, and really goes in. It's primarily focused on Harvey Weinstein, although it does kind of focus on Hollywood and really mass workplaces as a whole as kind of a central hub for this type of behavior. And overall, I really enjoyed this movie. I can't fully. I'm interested to know what other people think of this movie. It kind of flopped at the box office. Picked not a great time in the release schedule to come out. Honestly, it should have waited a week or two, but I'm kind of a sucker for a good reporting movie. Like, I love movies like Spotlight, or not The Post, because I think that The Post is a hot fucking mess of a movie. But like a well done reporting movie that actually does kind of nail the process of knocking on doors and keep getting close to writing that big story, and then the rug gets pulled out from under you and scrambling around. I love shit like that. So for that reason, She Said really worked for me. And that's primarily because the two performers, Carey Mulligan and Zoe Kazan, both of them are excellent and should be considered in contention for Best Actress and Best Supporting. I don't know who's going to run in which. I could see them trying to put Carey in lead and Zoe Kazan in supporting, even though they're kind of co-leads in the film. Just since Carey Mulligan's already previously been nominated, give her a little bit of that push. But yeah, I mean, this is a movie that's subject matter a lot of people just might not want to be into. Not as drastic as something like Bones and All, where it's a straight up cannibal film, but it's a tough thing to watch. There was a family, while I was saying in the screening, it was a public screening, and there was like a family that wandered in, a mom, a dad, and then like a little boy, probably like, I don't know, like 6, 7 years old, who wandered in like an hour and a half into the movie.
Oh no.
And they wandered in and they could see them like trying to shuffle around, find 3 seats next to each other, definitely just wander into the wrong theater, and nobody caught them. And
they were probably just bored watching Wakanda Forever. They're like, I don't
they just were like, fuck this, I was walking something else. But the scene they walked into,
they're like, this is too woke. It was find another movie.
And then they walk in, and it's a scene in which they have the guy who plays Harvey Weinstein on like a conference call being like, they're fucking liars. I'll kill them. I will kill them. They don't know what the fuck they're talking about. Really good.
Funny because I would like instinctually I would say that the movie must lack subtlety to depict him that way, but that is actually exactly the way that he acts and always has acted.
Yeah, no, that's the thing. And I will say, the guy who actually plays, let me get him pulled up here.
So he's in the movie.
So you only ever see like the back of his head and his voice. And it's really tastefully done, because whenever I saw that actually there's a guy playing Harvey Weinstein in the movie, I did kind of recoil a little bit. Like, I don't want to like even see just like any kind of dramatized version of this person who's just like one of the most despicable, rotten people in Hollywood history.
They went with like the tasteful route that for example, Michael Bay went with when he depicted George W. Bush in Transformers 1.
Of course, yeah. Honestly, handled with the same delicate hand.
He like asked for donuts or something.
He's like, yeah, hey, give me some more Doritos.
It's actually done exactly the same way, except it's the Harvey's asking for something else aside from Doritos.
Oof.
I think that's because I am curious to see what this is going to get, especially because it seemed to not land flat with audiences, but not. Dude, it wasn't received with the same uproar that
nobody saw this movie.
I mean, people who saw it seemed to like it.
Okay.
It's just people didn't see it.
It premiered at like number 5 or 6 at the box office.
Yeah, it's not great when it has a
the
budget
the menu was number 2.
It had a $32 million budget. It made $3 million.
It got
And that
smoked
is
by
rough.
the menu.
Yeah, by the menu.
Get out for line cooks,
right?
Wow.
I would still say that despite maybe audiences not being drawn to it as much, I think that this is going to be a heavy contender for best ensemble, because even outside of the two leads, the ensemble is incredible. Patricia Clarkson,
love her. She's great.
Who is Ashley Judd actually plays herself, since she was one of the first people to actually come out in the New York Times expose talking about how Harvey objectified her and everything that he did to her whenever they were on it. It's funny. They like kind of name some actresses and don't name some others, where it's like very clear who they're hinting at, but they don't quite have the rights to necessarily show this person on the screen.
Like Molly's game, like the poker game.
Yeah. Although Gwyneth Paltrow plays a key piece in this film, and Gwyneth Paltrow is not in the movie itself. But every time Harvey calls in, she's just like, "Who told you that? Did Gwyneth tell you that? Where is Gwyneth? I'm going to Gwyneth's house right now to find out."
Where is Gwyneth?
Like,
not in this movie.
Yeah. But yeah, I really enjoyed this movie a lot. Is it a movie I'm going to revisit like frequently? No, it's not as good as Spotlight. And I think it's kind of unfortunate that it has a little bit of this, like, it has the reporting.
It's the closest comparison.
All the President's Men, Spotlight, it kind of the Post, like, it kind of gets just labeled as a reporting movie, a media movie. But I do think that if you enjoy that kind of film, then you will like this, because it is really well done. It's just, it's not a movie for all people.
Well, we all know that the Post is the gold standard for important papers in film. So how important are the papers in this film?
Isn't it crazy that they made that the Post is literally about like the second most important news source for that story?
Oh yeah, the Washington Post.
They went after the Washington Post, and whenever they could have just gone for the New York Times.
Hey, like, democracy dies in darkness.
I have the FYC page pulled up here for She Said. So Zoe Kazan is being run in Best Actress, and Carey Mulligan in Best Supporting Actress.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
That's more accurate to how it is displayed in the movie. I just didn't know, since Carey Mulligan has kind of that, she's been nominated the past. Zoe Kazan, supporting actress, is a little bit weaker than lead this year. Lead is
that's why they're going to put her in there.
Fucking stacked.
Yeah. They think she has
Zoe Kazan is incredible. I hadn't really seen her in too many things, to be honest.
Yeah, she's in Buster Scruggs.
Yeah, Buster Scruggs, Big Sick, of course.
Yeah, she plays Kumail's wife in Big Sick.
Yeah, comatose wife. But yeah, I mean, otherwise, I hadn't really seen her in much of anything. Wasn't she in Yeah, she was in The Deuce, wasn't she? Is that what it was?
I think
Ernie,
so.
you're the Deuce head.
Yeah,
you're the Deuce head.
If anyone knows,
you should know. Yeah, it was the
fucking
Deuce.
Earth knows.
Yeah, I'm the only person that saw The Deuce.
Hey, it's great. The Deuce is great.
It's a good movie. I do like it.
I remember her. She's blonde in The Deuce. That's why it didn't ring a bell.
I think I'm gonna like She Said more now, before it goes through the ringer of getting like 8 nominations on Oscar night, and then everybody has to like be like, well, is it one of the best films of the year? Because it's not, but it's a good movie. Sure. And like I could still see it just kind of lingering around the conversation. If it's like She Said wins Best Picture over like a lot more deserving movies, then that's going to be unfortunate. So I hope that it just exists on its own to the side. Give it a couple noms, give it some love, but all
right. Well, that's She Said. It's out in theaters. It's barely out in theaters.
That shit is leaving theaters quickly. So if you want to see it soon.
It's
fire sale.
Flash sale, Black Friday. She Said it's gonna go to PVOD very, very soon. So if you're interested in everything that Hunter just described about it, I'd say check it out. Let's move on.
If you're interested in Hunter's opinions.
Sure. Which aren't real. All right, so let's jump over to a movie that I briefly mentioned in that fall festival or fall preview that we did a couple weeks ago with Joey, which is Till. We shouted out a little bit earlier here the story of Emmett Till. I'll be brief here just because we've kind of already alluded to it in a couple of different places, but Daniel Deadwyler is kind of the big sort of spotlight moment of this movie.
Yeah, watching the trailer is the Oscar reel.
Right, exactly. She plays the mother of Emmett Till that has to deal with like the lynching of her son. And going into this movie, I was very unsure about how it was going to sort of handle this idea of
you're thinking, is this going to be just like a monologue movie that like almost doesn't even respect the issue at hand because it's put through the ringer that all these other movies are put through, and it's so similar.
Right, the whole Oscar bait of it all. Like let's tell a story about a real life incredibly dark historical moment and put a awardsy buzzy performance at the center of it that's gonna kind of be this magnetic draw of attention for the movie, and then it's going to be nothing other than that. I'm happy to say that this movie almost gets over that hurdle. I'd say for the most part it does. There's a couple places where I did feel like it struggled to get over that, but she is so damn good. Daniel Deadwyler she's just so freaking good in this part that you can't write it off completely as just bad bait. It's not, I wouldn't put it in that bucket of just bad Oscar bait. I think it's worth seeing if you are not familiar with the story of Emmett Till. I think it is a very, very good retelling of the pain and the trauma of that story, just because it is through her eyes and through this. The movie is kind of split into everything leading up to the murder of Emmett Till and then everything after, just kind of the fallout of it. And there were some really, really good moments. I mean, there were moments that got me like really choked up and emotional, especially going into it, knowing the story and like kind of knowing what happens.
Yeah.
There's this anxiety, and the movie knows that. I mean, it doesn't fully play its card, but it sort of like digs into that in the opening stretch where it's just like, okay, we know what we're doing here. We know what we're getting into, and we're going to acknowledge it in these very subtle ways. I'd love to hear like some perspectives from other people, especially Black people, that can speak to this idea of like Black trauma on screen. But that's sort of like the biggest question mark of this movie is like, how necessary is it to make a commercial Hollywood product about such a insanely dark and traumatic story about a Black boy being lynched? And I'm not sure if like this is the movie that's going to solve the issue of Hollywood time and time again, like returning to this well of, putting Black actors and actresses just in this type of movie. And this is like the only opportunity that they get is to like relive these historical, insanely painful, dramatic stories. I don't think this is like particularly in the right direction in that kind of field, but I do think that it is a story worth telling, and I do think that it is told in a good way. And I don't think it is a betrayal of what these real life people must have been through. I think it's
that's the biggest hurdle to clear, I think. And then aside from that, I mean, you're saying it more or less worked for you, because the second biggest hurdle in my mind is, do I feel condescended to just as an audience member?
Right.
Who,
do you feel like you're reading a history book? Like, right. It's just like,
or does it, am I being manipulated too blatantly? Because the goal of any movie that's going to make you feel is to make you feel. That's not inherently a bad thing, but do I feel, do I feel like they are not pulling punches when they should, I guess.
Right. I think that he didn't write about it for this movie in particular, but I think you're touching on something that Wesley Morris has written about before in the New York Times about the way that we depict Black trauma in films. And really, there's no good way to do it because so fucking Steven Spielberg is allowed to make a story about his life and we're not allowed to see a story about the life of Emmett Till. Like there isn't necessarily a right way to a right or a wrong answer here. It's just about you can't just only have movies like Till that are just constantly going to be there to kind of stick your nose in it, for lack of a better term. Like that movie exists and it's important that it exists and it's important that people know the story of Emmett Till. But also we should take these great actors. From all accounts, I've heard that what is the name of who plays Emmett Till's mother? The actress?
Deadweiler.
Daniel Deadweiler. From all accounts, I've heard that she's like a revelation and she's just gonna be a force in other movies, and that's incredible. Like if that's one of the things that comes out of this movie is that then she can go on and make her own version of whatever the next big movie is, then that's awesome.
There's a real weight to it,
and it's also, I don't know. I think that the reason this is going to live on is because the depths of extremely racist events in American history, it goes deeper than even what we know, unless you read up. It's so wild. I was just the other day I was researching if your city or area has a street called Division, look up why.
Right.
Yep.
Something happened there.
It's what you think, and it's bad.
Yeah. If there's a highway in your city that seems to very suspiciously divide ethnicities.
Yep. Up and down.
Look it up.
Are you that's just shouting out Eatonville in the greater Orlando area?
Yeah. Literally 5 minutes around the corner from my house.
Yeah. It's really, really wild. Yeah, I was reading up a bunch of random local Orlando history, but yeah, it did get me thinking about that, about the micro events that are extremely significant and yet very intentionally not taught when teaching local history,
right?
Because local history isn't taught generally very much, and they don't want to touch on the bad stuff.
Oh, hell no. Especially here in Florida, dude. They're going to try to make it illegal to even mention it, to even just bring it up in passing that there was ever anything bad done to people.
So I think that this is and I don't know if you have any other thoughts on Till, Ernest, but this is a great transition to one of the next movies I want to talk about.
Armageddon Time.
Which is Armageddon Time.
Yeah. I just did want to say real quick that Till is now on premium video on demand. So it's still playing in a couple theaters, but you can now just rent it. So I'd say check it out. It's worth seeing. I don't know if it's going to be, one of the best of the year, but Daniel Deadweiler certainly it will be in the conversation. Armageddon Time. Let's get into it. What did you think?
Don't want to close my eyes.
Yeah, is that
it's crazy.
Bruce Willis?
That's the only thing that plays. That is the score. It's just that song.
Fall asleep. I miss you, baby.
So Armageddon Time,
and
the new James Gray film.
Miss a thing. Sorry, go ahead.
It's that plays, and then the ASMR audio of Ben Affleck fucking Liv Tyler.
It's really good. We love to see it. Steven watched the whole time.
Yeah. Anyway, you saw a Movie Hunter or something?
Yeah, so I saw a movie. So the new James Gray film, Armageddon Time. I can't remember. When we watched Ad Astra a couple years ago, whenever that came out, were you guys high on Ad Astra? Did y'all drink
I think you were. You were marginally higher than me, I would say. I enjoyed it.
Yeah, I thought it was good. I thought it was good. Maybe great.
Okay.
On the edge of good to great.
Good to great. I'm interested to know what you would think about Armageddon Time, because James Gray is slowly becoming one of my guys that I fucking love this guy. I love everything that he does. Loved Lost City of Z. Really loved Ad Astra, and Armageddon Time is just another movie that really, really affected me. And talking about kind of what you were just mentioning with Till about movies that are kind of about the margins a little bit, I think that Armageddon Time at its best really, really finds the perfect lines of those margins. It is another entry in the middle-aged to older white guy making a story about his life growing up, which we're getting a lot of those this year, guys.
So brave.
I know,
Incredible.
so brave. But I think one of the things that sets this movie apart is that it is so specific in the time that it's trying to capture and the story that it's trying to tell. This is a story about very, very prominently based on James Gray's life. It's starring Banks Rapetta as a young boy named Paul, a young little Jewish American boy growing up in I think it's Queens, somewhere in New York. Growing up in New York, kind of in the 1980, and whenever I say that that it's very specific and living on the margins, is this boy Paul starts out in a public school where he's kind of like a goofball, makes friends with the only black kid in his class, becomes like a very close friend of his. And while he's just in this like public school, he's like, oh no, don't worry about it. My family's like totally loaded. Like we have this racist ass teacher who hates you, but like I'll steal some money from my mom's purse and like I'll get it so like I can take you on this field trip with me and like we can hang out and just be like boys. And
James Gray is such a good guy, is what
something
I'm hearing.
happens. No. Well, not exactly. No, not exactly.
Good.
Based
yeah,
on the
it better
events
not
that's
just be a
happening
bunch of that.
No, well, it's a lot of it is kind of just how much easier it is to not act whenever you see hate around you, especially if you are a person who experiences hate. James Gray is a Jewish American man, and there's a lot of anti-Semitism in New York around this time and just everywhere around this time in 1980 and fucking all the time. So
I've never heard of it. What are you talking about?
What? Kyrie Irving? What? So they he's fucking around. An event or two happens that his parents decide like we have to pull you out of this public school and put you in a private school. And suddenly he goes from being this like rich kid, the richest kid at the poor school, to being the most impoverished kid at this rich private affluent school where it's like you are on a fast pass to get to Harvard if you go to this school. And suddenly he is becoming more of the marginalized party that he saw his friend being in the first school that he was at. And a lot of this movie is just kind of about how easy it is to just say nothing and to just, if you see that hate is happening around you, it's so much easier to just ignore it, because if hate's happening to someone else, that means it's not happening to you most of the times. I think that one of the things that really hammers that home is the supporting cast of this movie. Anthony Hopkins, man, he's just one of the best to ever do it. And he's just only in a couple scenes of this movie, and every time he's in there, I just like, what? He plays the grandfather. You want to know who plays the father? It's Daddy Jeremy Strong in this movie.
That's right. Yeah.
Jeremy Strong, who absolutely owns it as this father, as a very specific dad who's like very like buttoned up, proper. I'm not going to raise my voice over a certain level, except when he snaps and you're like, oh my God, I want to like fucking recoil in my seat seeing Jeremy Strong busting out his belt right now. He's amazing. Anne Hathaway, who plays the mom, is incredible. Like, it's really, really another one of my favorite casts of the entire year. And I want to shout out Jalen Webb, who plays Paul's friend. I'd never seen this kid before in anything, and he's incredible. Like, it truly is one of those performances that, like, as great as Banks Rapetta is, I know he's kind of being taken, like, he's been in some other movies before. He's kind of more of a well-known child actor at this point. I've never seen this kid Jalen Webb before, and I can't wait to see anything that this kid does because he's got it. Like he's got the juice.
Hell yeah, I'm excited to see this. It's definitely on my list.
I will say, as far as like awards stuff, I don't think this movie is gonna get any awards love. James Gray movies don't get Academy love, unfortunately, and also it's a crowded field right now for white Jewish American men telling stories about their journey to love art and to learn about themselves. I don't want to necessarily. I don't know if it's a spoiler at this point. I won't say it for this conversation. But there is a prominent political figure in the 2020s who is in this movie.
I have heard about this. Yeah.
Drew, do you know about this?
No.
You seen this? You heard about this? I'll just say it because it's in the trailers and stuff. Jay Leno's in this movie. Burn marks and all. Shout out to Jay. Wishing him a speedy recovery.
Jesus Christ.
The Trump family is in this movie. Yeah. So if it wasn't obvious that this is kind of a metaphor of history repeating itself, it's really right there on its shoulder. And I've seen some criticisms of just like, oh, it's too on the nose. Oh, we didn't need that to like literally have the Trump family be key donors in this private school. But also like, you know, sometimes people need to be like beaten over the head and see like, hey,
I mean,
history is repeating itself.
I would guess that there's a good chance that that's true.
No, it is. It is literally true. It's Trump's daddy was a donor at the school in Queens, or maybe it was in what, I can't remember. But yeah, no, great movie. I don't know. New York is just all the same to me. Is Rochester there?
Albany, Buffalo. Those were the 5
Armageddon
boroughs,
Time.
Right? Long Island.
Long Island. The Catskills.
The Statue of Liberty.
Statue of Liberty. Yeah.
My favorite borough is Lake Placid.
The Staten Island Ferry. All right, so that's Armageddon Time. Check it out. It's also now on premium video on demand. These movies, they're all just getting shuffled out of theaters so quick. They're just barely on there.
Is it a Warner Brothers movie?
Armageddon?
No, it's Focus. It's Focus. Never mind. For some reason, I thought that it was going to be HBO Max. Maybe it will eventually because some Focus stuff filters over there, but it's Universal. So if anything, it might go to...
The Northman was on Peacock.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say, is that might end up on Peacock eventually.
Or Prime. The Northman's on Peacock and Prime, and that's Focus. So, all right. This one's going to be brief because I don't want to say too much about this movie, and I know Drew really wants to see it, and we're going to have to talk about it a lot when it comes out. Glass Onion, a Knives Out mystery. The new Ryan Johnson whodunit. Get ready, y'all. This movie is fucking awesome. It's so good. It's good.
It's better than the first one. It's like I think I've thought on it a bit, and I think it's like almost better in every way than the first Knives Out. A movie that I fucking loved, and especially revisiting that movie, I'm like, oh, I like this movie even more revisiting it.
So yeah, I think there's a couple of things that I would tick on the originals column. I think the look of the original is better. I think that there's
kind of like a classic Nancy Drew kind of the very like classic spooky whodunit house and everything.
Yeah, there's just something about the texture of the original movie, how they shot it. He has the same cinematographer here, Steve Yedlin, but I have a feeling that because this is Netflix, they're I don't know who to blame, but there's just a couple of shots that are just like a little bit too digital, you know, kind of I can tell that there's like that they're on a sound stage or, you know, in front of some type of virtual background. That's the only thing that I would say that the first
that is
such
a Netflixy thing.
Yeah.
I think the most Netflix looking thing of all time is that series of unfortunate events show that they did.
Oh my God. I watched every episode of that.
That show looked repulsive.
That shit looked like it was like shot at a local theater, like on a stage. Like it did not look like something that had a serious budget and was shot.
It was just gray.
Right. It everything about that was fake. Oh my God. Yeah, that's so Netflix. So this movie is not nearly as egregious in that regard, but there were just a couple of shots that I was like, oh, Ryan, what's going on here? But other than that, like everything else about this, it's funnier. The script is more ambitious and intricate and just manages to kind of juggle even more things and spin even more plates in the air. Just the way the story is structured and the way the mystery is laid out. Because I mean, if folks have seen the original Knives Out, you know that Rian Johnson has kind of like in a way spearheaded the new rise of the modern whodunit murder mystery. Like we have White Lotus now. There's like a bunch of other kind of copycats. And I think that Knives Out, maybe not the first one, but the best one in recent years. And the way he did it in that movie, it felt really fresh and creative and unique. And it wasn't just like your stock kind of murder mystery. He found a new way to tell a story that's been told a bunch of times before, and to follow that up in a sequel to kind of make it feel like he has to do it again. He finds a way to do it again, man, and he finds a way to make it fresh again. And I was just so on board with this movie. I had such a blast. Our screening loved it. It was all critics, so we were already on the Rian Johnson bandwagon for sure. But yeah, definitely seek this movie out. It's in a very limited theatrical run. Netflix is putting it out in theaters right now. So go catch it if you can real quick before they take it down. I don't know why it's such a brief run. But at least they're giving it some type of theatrical run. But when it does come out on Netflix,
so I guess it's because they're bleeding subscribers so hard that they need something to draw people back. Because if this was like peak Netflix days, like let's say this was 5 years ago, they would have no reason not to just let this run out in theaters, because if this were in theaters, it would make 100+ million.
But they've never done that. They've never. Yeah. This is like the first time that they've even tried it.
Well, because it's a combination of they are bleeding subscribers, and also Netflix isn't the only big corporation to just give filmmakers carte blanche to do whatever they want anymore. Apple's like, hey, come here. You can make your passion project. We'll give you all this money, and also we'll release it in theaters. So I think that Netflix does kind of want to give some of its bigger filmmakers some of that room to grow. For Rian Johnson, it was in his contract whenever he signed to make Knives Out 2 and 3 for them that it was going to be in theaters, at least in some kind of a run. I think it's coming out. So it's coming out this week, Thanksgiving week.
Yeah.
And I think it's staying in theaters
is out, it'll be out.
I think it's in theaters for like a week or two now. And then isn't it coming out again at Christmas? Or am I wrong?
Oh, it's out on Netflix.
It's just coming out. It's not getting re-released in theaters at Christmas.
It's out on Netflix December 23rd. So
it was just such a bummer. Man, this is going to be, it's such a great theater movie though. Like the first Knives Out was an incredible theater movie.
Make a day of it, people. Like get the family
I can't wait to
together.
see this movie again in theaters, because
this is not one to just throw on while you're doing the dishes and you're pacing back and forth. Like,
although I do think that it will,
and watch this one.
It's one of those movies though that I think that you could get a lot out of it if you were watching it while doing something else and not necessarily like attuned all the way, because it is broad in some of what it's trying to tell, but also
the
every
mystery,
single detail is so thought out in the most meticulous way, where when you are, it's like the most intricate script that I've ever seen that actually works, where they reached a point about like an hour and a half-ish into this movie. This is a pretty long movie. It's like 210 or so. It's longer than the original. where around like the hour 20, hour and a half mark, I was like,
there's a lot of balls in the air.
There's a lot of stuff here.
Yeah.
I don't know if everything's going to come together. And then it's like every single loose end is tied up in a perfect way where you're
Incredible.
like,
I was trying to poke holes in it. I was trying to think like, well, maybe that doesn't quite line up. And then I was like, no, you can find a connection for everything.
I feel like doing the outline, Ryan Johnson had to just be like fucking Charlie Day on the corkboard, just like putting lines to everything, planning every single item out, every detail of blocking and when a certain character is going to walk to a place and then turn around. Like it's everything so meticulously thought out. And that's one of the things that just makes this easily one of the best movies of the year. Like this is a lock for the top 10, lock for the top 5 for me right now.
Yeah, I think lock for the top 5. Yeah. Two main thoughts walking out of the theater was, one, we're so lucky that we're living in the time of Ryan Johnson making movies, because he's young. He's going to be making movies for a long time. It's not like a James Cameron situation where it's like, oh my God, he's only going to make Avatar for the rest of his career. Like that's all we got now. Like he's going to make the third Knives Out, and then hopefully
he's out of Disney. Like there's no way he's going to go make a Marvel movie now, because he made his Star Wars movie and it was possibly the best Star Wars movie, but people hated it. So he's like, cool, fuck you guys. I'm just going to go make original IP now.
We're so lucky to get this man, dude. Like bangers. Like we are blessed. We are blessed. And the other thought, Daniel Craig, we are blessed.
Man.
Holy shit, Daniel Craig he's hilarious, and he's like sexy, and he can balance like being this like almost like this buffoon, this like bumbling buffoon, and then like this suave like genius at the same time.
It's a very old school. It's written in a very like 50s movie character way.
Yeah,
and there were so many like quasi funny like hot guy leads back then.
Yes,
he's pulling it off as well as anyone like ever has, at least in the first one. Like he rules so hard.
I will say
he's even better. I think he's even better in this. He's fucking phenomenal.
I've been making like an Excel sheet of just like my picks for like my favorite acting performance, actress, screenplay, movie, all this kind of stuff, to like just, it's like an insane list right now. And I think Daniel Craig might give my favorite male performance of the year. Like it's just, I now, after walking out this movie, I was like, how do we get him nominated? Well, no, I'm like, how can we put Benoit Blanc in every movie?
Oh,
like I want Benoit Blanc to be in the new Marvel movie. I want to put him in Mank. I want to put Benoit Blanc in Tar. I want to put Benoit Blanc in Jaws. Let's like digitally animate him back in there. I want to put Benoit Blanc in everything, just to comment on the situations around him.
He would have solved Chinatown.
Yeah,
he would have.
He would have.
He would never forget it.
Oh my God! Yeah, it's let's get him in Top Gun.
Let's do it. Come on, are you kidding? Are you telling me that Benoit Blanc couldn't be like Tom Cruise's like instructor, who's just like telling him like that he's crossed the line one too many times?
Yeah.
Like, just put that guy in fucking anything, man. He can do no wrong.
Yeah, Daniel Craig.
It's so fun. I cannot understate like how funny this movie is. Like it is hilarious,
and he's a big part of it. He just owns it. He's hilarious. Yeah, he's in my ballot right now. He did bump out Jake Gyllenhaal in Ambulance, unfortunately. So we got to pour one out for Jake.
No,
is that for supporting? Do you have him in supporting actor?
I had him in lead. Is he not lead?
You had Jake as a lead actor. I thought Jake is Jake a lead in Ambulance?
He is the Ambulance. He is the LA in Ambulance.
I kind of thought of him as like a strong supporting.
The lead in that movie is Michael Bay.
Yeah, that's the thing. Is that like I think of Michael Bay when I think of that movie.
Yeah.
And then the acting comes second.
So yeah, Glass Onion, get ready. It's another banger. I really hope this movie hits hard, because they paid a lot for it. We talked about this way back when this deal was made, but this was a big bidding war that Netflix won for this and the third one. So I hope it pays off. I think it's paid off in terms of quality. We'll see, what else they can get in terms of like attention and awards, but it's a home run.
I will say,
yeah, regardless, it's gonna satisfy people with Netflix, which is more than most Netflix properties can say.
Right. This will definitely, I'm gonna go ahead and lock it in right now that Netflix is gonna say like 62 million people put on the first 3 seconds because it autoplayed for them, which is a new record. That they'll definitely come up with that for this movie. Whether that's true or not, I can't wait to see it.
Did you want to stay on the Netflix train here?
I can briefly touch on White Noise, because I think that's it's interesting to think of these two movies together, because I think that coming out of this, Netflix probably thought that White Noise and Bardo, a movie that neither of us have seen yet, were going to be their big Oscar plays. And those movies have received a little bit more of a mixed reaction, mixed to bad in the case of Bardo for a lot of reviews.
Yeah, to the point of having to recut the movie after its festival premiere.
Yeah,
That's
which
insane.
Yikes! That doesn't happen for a 2-time Best Director winner to have to recut 30 minutes out of your movie. Turns out nobody wants to know about like your anxiety attacks about maybe you're not good filmmaker, Alejandro. Jesus.
Whoops.
Bardo.
But I do think that Glass Onion is gonna be a Best Picture nominee. Like, I'm willing to go ahead and plant that flag now that I think that Glass Onion could be in contention.
Netflix
I think that
gets it in there.
Well, I think that could be the thing that as the dust settles a little bit, Netflix throws their weight behind Glass Onion, because they're like, shit, people didn't really clamor to Bardo or White Noise. We got to throw our weight behind something to market Pinocchio.
We got our FYC boxes today.
Yeah,
Netflix
Pinocchio,
is pushing Pinocchio.
And man, if there's a box that gets delivered to some people in the beginning of Glass Onion, and I hope that Netflix sends us that box in honor of Glass Onion.
Oh my God, what if it's a puzzle, dude?
That's what I'm saying. You can send me a puzzle box.
Holy shit.
I don't want to go into details for Drew.
Yeah, shut the fuck up.
What happens? So White Noise. It is just, I'm going to touch briefly on this movie because, to be honest, I saw this movie last week and I still don't really have a firm grasp on it.
It's the new Noah Baumbach.
Yeah, it's Noah Baumbach. It's adapted screenplay, which he hasn't done in a long time, based on Dom DeLillo's kind of unfilmable novel. Which, have you guys ever read this book, or do you know anything about this book?
No, I know. I mean, I know that DeLillo is sort of a seminal like Gen X author about, the ennui of like existing for no reason.
Yeah. So yes. So there's some of that. I started this. I didn't finish it in time. It's one of those books that I've picked up and read 175 pages of and then put down and forgot about. It's a very ethereal and meandering book, to the point where it kind of, you are reading it and just like, all right, where are the ideas to make a movie in here? It's got a little bit of that, like, it's very much just from the perspective of the main actor, Jack Gladney, played by Adam Driver, where it's just kind of his thoughts, seeing his family around him. And it's a story about kind of existential crisis. And I don't really want to get into the plot specifics, one, because I don't want to spoil this movie for people who are interested, and two, because this isn't really a plotty movie. The plot doesn't really matter. There's like some key events that happen, but it's funny. This movie is advertised as an apocalyptic black comedy, and there's an event that you think is going to lead to like we're getting into like an apocalypse movie now. Like there's a major event that's happening here. Really, Noah Baumbach is going to flex that $80 million budget that Netflix gave him. And then it's just kind of not that. It's like a little bit of a movie about like anxiety around death. And just kind of general anxiety around things that are happening.
Yeah, it's a Noah Baumbach movie.
Exactly. I don't know what people are expecting with that. But the way that this movie kind of flows in and out of tone is one of the more interesting things that I've seen in movies in a really long time, where there's parts where you think it's taking itself very seriously, and then suddenly it's kind of like played in such a anti-humor for laughs way that you're like, am I allowed to laugh at this? Is this a joke that's being played in front of me right now? Like, it's so wild, especially the third act of this movie is something that afterwards I went to this the screener. There's only like 3 other people there. One of the guys was just like, I have no thoughts. I need to think on this one. Or he was like, I have no comments for you. I just need to think on this one. And just walked away, just like left immediately. And I talked with the other 2 people. I have no comments for you.
N.A.
I was like, oh, cool. All right. And I just was sitting there like talking with the other 2 people who sat through the movie with me. And we were kind of just going back and forth about like, what is this movie even trying to say? What is Baumbach trying to get at here? After seeing the end of this movie, I now want to go back and rewatch the whole movie to think like, is this a farce? Like what I'm seeing, is there some deeper elements under the surface here that maybe don't work in certain ways? So I don't know. I'm really interested to rewatch this movie. Overall, I recommend it very, very cautiously. Recommend it. I recommend it to you too. Let me clarify.
Well, you're a big Baumbach head, right? You've seen
I'm
like
a huge Baumbach fan.
You've seen like all of them, right? So
there's only a couple of blind spots in his filmography, but I will say,
aren't Baumbach heads. Like, do you think that there's still a way in?
So I don't know, because I think that I was predisposed to like this movie because of how much I love Noah Baumbach, but this is also so wholly different from anything else that Noah Baumbach has ever done, because
Right.
this isn't an original story. This isn't him making like his version of whatever, like another divorce story. That's kind of Noah Baumbach's like MO, is he's just taken over as divorce guy, who's just the best at writing those kind of family drama dynamics.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a little bit of there is still family drama dynamics in this story that you can tell that's one of the things that he's drawn to, but there is kind of an existentialism to this book and to this film that he's trying to touch on here. So I would recommend it only to certain people if you kind of know what you're getting into with this movie. Just know that this movie it's $80 million and it's not going to like big explosions or anything like that.
Sort of meandering.
My biggest takeaway from this movie, and I messaged it to you guys in the group chat after seeing this, is I think that there's one scene in particular that made me think this halfway through the movie. I think that Adam Driver has the belt right now as the greatest actor alive.
Wow.
I've thought about this a lot before. If you like think about acting as like almost like sounds like a fucking Bill Simmons point, but like who has the belt right now as the greatest actor alive?
We have no actors now. All actors are dead.
All actors are dead. We got to
Hollywood is drunk.
We have to import them.
We got to reboot. We
have to import Albert Hollywoods from Wales now. But I think that Adam Driver is truly like, he has the ability to do literally anything. Like, we've seen him do the big budget Star Wars. We've seen him do very quiet movies. We've seen him kind of take on the Kramer versus Kramer role and Marriage Story. Like, he can do anything in this. And he is so in his bag. Especially, I just want him to continue. We talked about it with Ryan Johnson, but I feel like since Noah Baumbach, or since Adam Driver has done the Star Wars thing, he doesn't have to worry about doing another big stupid superhero thing ever, or at least for a long time. So he can continue to make movies like this, and it's for those reasons that I think he's the greatest actor alive. No matter what, anything that he's in, I've never watched Adam Driver and been disappointed by him.
Right.
Can you think of any time that you've ever watched Adam Driver and you've been like, I really wish that Noah Centineo had this part.
Ew.
I'm always saying this.
Yeah. Your beloved Black Adam definitely had him very prominent.
There's also a guy. I might also be biased because there's a really good TikTok going around of there's a guy who's like an actor, like an improv actor in Hollywood, and his whole thing is that he can say fuck just like Adam Driver. He's just like fuck. It's like perfect. Like the way that Adam Driver says fuck, it's really well done.
Well, that's White Noise. I think it is also in very limited theatrical release right now. But it will be on Netflix on December 30th. So I'm sure that this one will sort of struggle to find its audience. But I feel like once it does, people are probably going to be riding hard for what sounds like a really strange movie.
So how are we on time right now, Ernie?
We're running a bit long here, so we might want to speed through.
Let me just real quick, because there's one movie that we have seen together that we just saw last night that I want to touch on. But before we get to that, I want to take you guys real quick to the Church of Tar.
I'm so mad I haven't seen Tar. It left theaters. It like
it's listen. The work of Lydia. Listen, the work of Lydia Tar, it just kind of can't be handled by mass audiences right now, and I think that's gonna almost hold it back a little bit. Is that Lydia Tar? It's like looking Jesus Christ in the face whenever you see Lydia Tar perform on stage. And I think for those reasons that they had to take her out of theaters. She was too powerful in theaters.
This is Cate Blanchett in what seems to be sort of like a powerhouse, just acting bravura performance.
Yeah. I might want to do a full episode on Tar because there's so many goddamn ideas in this movie that I don't even want to get too deep into them with you. This is another movie that's easily in the best movie of the year conversation. It's right there with Glass Onion, Nope, Everything Everywhere, Top Gun Maverick. Like, I think that it is kind of up in that upper echelon. It's a movie that has so much to say about the culture that we're living in around us, people who kind of surround themselves with art and become obsessed with creating art, and criticism. Has a lot to say about critics, which felt a little bit targeted there. So much to say about kind of what it is to be a woman, but not in like what it is to be a woman in an objectified way, but what it is to be a woman in a way that you are in a position of power, which is something that is so interesting and not something that is typically ever depicted in films. Yeah, it's fucking excellent. Cate Blanchett's winning Best Actress right now. Like, go ahead. I'm sorry, Michelle Yeoh. I love you to death. Cate Blanchett's winning Best Actress. Like, I'm willing to take that to the bank right now.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
She's unfucking believable. It reached a point where I was like, halfway through Tar, I was like, is this a real person? Like, did I like black out? Is Lydia Tar like a real a modern composer that I just haven't heard of before? Because it's something that's so well lived in that you're like, well, this has to be based on a real person. There's no way that this character just was created from whole cloth. That doesn't exist anymore. And it's, man, so well done. There's a scene in this movie where Lydia Tar is taking over as a guest teacher at a university, teaching like composing students. I think it's at Juilliard. And it might be the scene of the year. It's like an extended oneer that is like, has so much to say about art and the like worse versions of like the woke culture of like, we have to cancel Beethoven because he like slept with other women aside from his wife and like shit like that. Of like, it has so many different ideas in there that it's amazing. I cannot wait for you guys to watch Tar just so we can talk about it more extensively.
Gotta join the Tarmy.
Join the Tarmy. My name is now Huntar. Yeah. By the way, I changed it legally.
Yeah, it's a Tar,
and it's capital T A apostrophe capital R.
Yeah, gotta have that tilde. It's a tilde.
A tilde.
All right,
Brian.
well, we are running long as always, so we got to wrap it up. But
I don't think we've ever
do,
done that before.
before we do, we have to talk about our granddaddy, Mr. Steven Spielberg. His new movie, The Fabelmans, is now out in theaters. We got a chance to see it last night. Boy, oh boy, the old man still got it. I just want to get a shirt that says that, with just Spielberg's face on it, just smiling, just looking at you.
Boy, oh boy, the old man still got it.
Yeah. I just adored this movie. I mean,
yeah,
if we were to do like a top 5 Steven Spielberg movies, there's just like this lock of greatest of all time, 10 out of 10 masterpieces. You've got E.T., Close Encounters, Jurassic Park, Raiders, Jaws. It starts to get interesting if you kind of rule those out and you look at like 21st century Spielberg. That's when like there's more of a conversation to be had. That's not just the boring like unanimous picks, right? And I think you have this like first half of the millennium where you had things like Minority Report and Catch Me If You Can, AI, where it started out really strong, and then it just really dips off, right? And you start to get things like War Horse and
Hey, Justice for Warhorse.
The Terminal.
Justice for BFG.
War Horse is like a 30 Rock movie.
Yeah. What if there was a War Horse?
Listen, I've heard that that's a very good horse actor.
Sure.
And
it's an animatronic, I think. Yeah. There was the Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. So it's like things started to look a little bit rough there. Guys, I revisited The Terminal recently, and I was so sad to see how bad that movie is. Because that's just like a classic grandma movie, where it's just
my
like
grandma loved that movie.
Yeah. And it's just like I just had like this warm feeling of like Tom Hanks living in a terminal. And then I rewatched it. I was like, oh Christ. I think that might be Spielberg's worst movie, like just straight up.
Wow.
So,
oh man.
It seemed like the old man like was just an old man. And then you started to like see this twinkle come back with things like Bridge of Spies. And Munich, from what I've heard, is part of that too, which I have yet to see. That's always been on my watch list. And now it's between West Side Story and The Fabelmans
and Ready Player One.
And Ready Player One, yes. Sorry.
Masterpiece, Ready Player One. Thank you.
Sorry.
We're counting Ready Player One, then we also have to count The Post. That's the deal.
Post. Yeah.
Well, yeah, I think it's not
just to make you mad.
I thought it was weird that whenever you mentioned the top 5, 10 out of 10 greatest films of all time, that you didn't mention Ready Player One in there.
Well, that's just a given,
Okay, cool. It's like number 0.
Right.
Because it's above number 1.
It's not a film, it's an experience.
Yeah, it's like higher than any integer can ever possibly measure.
Gamers rise up. Yes. Mm-hmm. It seems like I don't, and Lincoln, I think Lincoln's in there too. I think Lincoln is part of that comeback, that he has found this new gear that I don't think people really expected him to have. And now it's like, The Fabelmans is in a lot of ways could be seen as like this victory lap of like, okay, let me tell the story of my childhood and sort of cap things off here. But it seems like it's this promise of like this new level of quality and expertise that I think people assumed he just didn't have anymore. This juice that was spent. It seems like there's way more gas in the tank now. And this movie, I don't know if it's going to sort of blow everyone away, at least in the film community, as much as some of the other movies that we've mentioned on this podcast. But when it comes to like mainstream audiences, when it comes to like maybe the members of the Academy or I don't know, just like when you're going after like the broadest possible audience, like I feel like this is just going to be a really crowd pleasing movie. He does everything so well here. He's able to to infuse this movie with so much heart and so much soul, and you get that Spielberg magic, but you also get this like really tender and melancholy story about growing up and about this mother, his mom. He's trying to understand his mother as a person, and it's a special movie. It's a really, really special movie, and it's not as simple as let's just play the hits of how Spielberg became Spielberg, or show you like this generic version of why movies are important and how, the I love movies, the movie, it's something so much more humanistic. And it just gets into these ideas of like what makes our hearts beat, like what makes our souls beat.
Heavy.
It's nice. It's tender. It's like a really warm movie. I really, really loved it.
The thing is that, and I think the thing that makes it separates it from even a movie like Armageddon Time, which is a movie that I love, is that at the end of the day, this isn't afraid to be like a fun, entertaining movie. Like, this is a movie that is really funny at parts. It's deeply entertaining throughout the entire time. This isn't just looking back at everything with rose-colored glasses. This isn't fucking Belfast, okay? This isn't just like, man, my life was a little bit crazy. Let me tell you a little something about it. This is, at the end of the day, it's a movie. You, of course, like, we're watching this knowing that Steven Spielberg telling a story about his life, but like Sammy Fabelman feels like a real character. He feels lived in. He feels like he is actually experiencing things that are happening around him, whether that's his parents' divorce or experiencing anti-Semitism. Like, these are things that Steven definitely went through in his own life, but the way that it is portrayed with this character is so well done. I want to talk. I have so many thoughts that are like in spoiler territory that I don't want to actually get into for this movie. Judd Hirsch plays a pivotal role in this movie, like kind of in a scene that resets everything that we like Steven Spielberg or Sammy Fabelman's like mindset on like how to think about family and art and this
such a good
dichotomy that you have here. There's one shot that might be my favorite shot from anything in the entire movie. It's in the third act. It's during like an emotionally climactic scene, and it's Sammy kind of looking at a situation that's happening in a third party view as if he were directing a sequence. And the thing that like kind of made me like grip my seat a little bit, where it's him kind of coming to grips of like, how would I shoot these things around me? I'm not looking at things that are happening in my life as a human being anymore. I'm looking at them for like fodder to make art.
And he's not
like
he's
a
not
really
fully...
kind of insane way. Like it sounds sociopathic, and it kind of is, but like in a way that is also childlike, in the way that like, you don't fully have like empathy developed whenever you're like a kid of a certain age. And so you get these things around you, and you're so self-focused on what your interests are and what your passions are, especially when they're like, you're so young, and it's just like, you are really into this one thing, and you kind of feel like sick to your stomach about like how invested you are in this one thing. But I do want to make it clear, this is not a movie that's just about filmmaking. This is kind of a coming of age story at its core.
Yeah.
There's just his passion and his kind of escape is through
but filmmaking is this coping mechanism for him. He is going back to what you were just,
that's a great way to say it,
to what you were just saying, is like, he is a lot of times not really living his life, but mostly just observing it like a camera. Like he is this camera that's filming his own life and capturing these moments and preserving them in film is this way to sort of feel like he has a handle on his life, and like he can control the aspects of his life that are out of control. So there's a lot of depth here, and there's a lot of ways in which he recontextualizes the role that film and making movies had on his life. And it's not as simple as like, I grow up and make movie because I love movie. You know, it's much more complicated and human. And we should say Michelle Williams is just kind of glowing in this movie. It's a very interesting performance because, you know, I love Michelle Williams. I think she's always amazing. I think that a lot of people have said that it's category fraud that she's running in lead and not supporting, but she is in a ton of this movie. And so I think she is totally fine running in lead. And the character I think is a little bit like, she's playing it really big, and I think it's supposed to be big because I think that in a way Spielberg is trying to give his mom this light of like this old Hollywood sort of starlet, but he doesn't want to like flatten her into a movie character. He still wants to see her as a real person. So there's this dichotomy of like, okay, how do I give my mom this like gift of like making her the star of my movie and giving her that glowing light, but also like really explore how she must have felt like in these moments in her life, not as a mother, but as a person. And I think that they managed to really, really nail that. I think your mileage may vary. You know, we were chatting outside the theater, and I think some people kind of disagreed on that front a little bit, just because she is
disagreed on what front?
On just how big she's going, so big.
Yeah, specifically on Michelle Williams. Friend of the pod, Adam, was not as high on her performance. But Ernest, I think that the way you just said that is perfectly articulated, and it really comes across, especially in the third act, because there's, again, without getting into spoilers, Sammy is making his own films throughout the movie, and in the third act, like right towards the end of the movie, he makes another little short film and depicts a character in the movie who kind of takes on the role of a lead, of like a pseudo lead of this film. And after he premieres this movie, he's like, look, the camera just kind of captures what it does. Like I'm just here to like point a camera and just follow where it leads me. And it almost is like deliver in this way of like sadness, like he's like, I'm like cursed to just only shoot the most beautiful things you've ever seen in your entire life. But like it is a thing that Spielberg kind of distilled down the magic that he's able to capture, where it's just sometimes you don't know where these stars are coming from. Sometimes you just get a guy like Harrison Ford and you put him in front of a screen and you're like, oh shit. Okay. We're with this guy now. Like, yeah, like he's just able to kind of capture that star making quality to make somebody look larger than life, make them look like a superhero without the cape or anything. Like that's the thing that always has made Spielberg so special as a filmmaker.
It's magical.
And it captures that magic down in such a beautiful way.
Yeah. Also,
I also want to say that, and all the other the cast outside of Michelle Williams,
Paul Dano, Seth Rogen.
Seth Rogen's incredible in this movie.
Yeah.
He's so good. He's like very toned
different,
down.
Very different Rogen. Yeah.
He's not like funny guy. He's like funny in like a dad joke kind of way as the best friend.
The little boy, Sammy, at the very beginning of the movie. Like it's Spielberg.
Cute little kid.
Spielberg is so good at like casting unknown talent. Like obviously he has movie stars in here, you know, Michelle Williams, Paul Dano, like all these people that are amazing. But then there's the unknown talent here, and my God, it's just, dude, it's so good. It's so magical.
Gabriel Labelle, I think, is deserving of a nomination.
He's really
playing
good.
Sammy Fabelman.
Yeah,
who's the lead. Like he just becomes Spielberg.
Yeah, they make him look just like him at the end.
He looks like a teenage Spielberg. It's insane what they did.
It's so crazy. It's final scene.
Yeah, it's not like it's not like an impersonation kind of a thing. I don't think that they should give him a nomination because he was like good at capturing the mannerisms of young Spielberg. Like he is a fully realized character.
Yeah, you can watch this movie without knowing that it's Spielberg's life. Like, it's designed to be for you to go into it and just watch it as a movie. That it works that way too.
Yeah. It's just really well done. The whole time I'm watching this movie, you just see him, young Sammy, like making videos with his siblings and with his friends. But that's not like a big chunk of the movie. It's more of like in these little vignettes and montages, and it just creates a warm feeling inside. It just made me have like flashbacks to being a kid and just making little movies, and it was just great. It's really nice. It's just a warm blanket, man. I can't wait to watch this movie again. Like,
it does get sad
I really
too, though.
Loved it.
You know, it is the story of a divorce at the end of the day. And you know, if you know Spielberg's life and you know the things that inspired movies like E.T. and Close Encounters.
Yeah, I was gonna say we should say he has a penchant for inserting his life into all of his movies. Also Catch Me If You Can for his young life.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Yes, exactly. So he's always sprinkled it in, but this is the first time where it's just like, all right, we're just going to do it. We're just going to tell what actually happened.
Yeah. And tell it in a way that it is not going to, like, he has so much love and admiration for his parents. And I think that some people have had criticisms towards it almost don't really get what he's going for with the parents, because there is no bad guy. Like, they both, parents just kind of,
it's not an explosive, like,
man and woman can just kind of grow apart from each other because they want different things in life. And Spielberg was very,
especially in those days, in those days when you just like married your high school sweetheart, you know,
you're like, I'm 19 and horny, so let's get married. When you're a baby boomer and you're going to like go off to war, that's just what you do. I think that one of the other things that works really well with this movie is that Spielberg is kind of, you can see the elements from both his mom and his dad in his filmmaking. His dad has this like intellectual, like, son, I want you to be an engineer. Yeah. There's one scene, and it's just one specific of the movie that I'll give out, that whenever he's making one of his films, he's like shooting like a war film or something like that, or a Cowboys kind of story like that, and he wants to make it so whenever they shoot the gun, it like pops like an actual gun.
He has a scientific solution to that problem.
He takes pins and pokes holes in the film so it like flashes on the screen, like almost like they're shooting a flash. And his dad's like, how did you think to do that? Like, that was such like a creative thing to think of. And you can see this kind of thing of working like, all right, what do I have around me? What can I use to the fullest to make this as realistic as possible? Which is just a trait that he's taken into his professional life and making some of the most creative and iconic set pieces that we've ever seen. But also his mother is this classical piano teacher. She's a dancer. Artist. She has that full art background. So it's this melding of two professionals from completely different walks of life that actually made this work out so well. Also, shout out to Julia Butters while we're talking about cast. Who plays the oldest of the sisters, Glasses Girl.
I didn't catch that. That's her?
Julia Butters. Yeah.
From Once Upon a Time.
She's got a couple great scenes in this movie.
Yeah, I don't think the movie's perfect. I could definitely see some holes being poked in it. I do think that something like that sister character, there's a moment with her that's like this like emotional moment, and I would have loved to have been more set up for that, to have more kind of context with the sister, to care more about her. It's a long movie. It's like 2.5 hours, and they're cramming a lot of story into it, and I would have loved to have seen, like, you know, the mini series version of this, you know, to give Steve the old HBO Max treatment. But I am glad that we get it in this way on the big screen. I think people are going to have some nits to pick, but at the end of the day, I think it is another just incredible movie for Mr. Spielberg. It's out in theaters right now. It's The Fabelmans. And I think we can wrap it up there. Just to give you a little sneak peek of what other things we could get to at another episode that we left on the cutting room floor here. Decision to Leave, All Quiet on the Western Front, The Menu, and Fire of Love. We did not have time to get to. So might have time for that in the coming weeks. There's some TV stuff that has been sort of floating around too. There's White Lotus. Documentary Now is back. Atlanta wrapped up its season. And I'm going to be chatting with Adam about Andor. So that'll be on the feed coming up. We do get the Andor finale tomorrow. I know you boys are so out on Star Wars, but Tony Gilroy made a Star Wars show and it's fucking great.
I know.
He squeezed one in. Somebody let him get away with it. I don't know how it happened. They weren't looking. Everyone was too busy with Obi-Wan Kenobi, and Tony Gilroy was like, I'm gonna go off and do my thing.
Remember that guy from the film Rogue One? I want to make like a prison movie about him, or a prison series about him. I think I'll probably eventually get around to Andor. Who knows? There's
really good.
Time is so fleeting. Who's to say if I'll actually get to it? The World Cup is on now. I don't know. I'm like getting up at 5 a.m. to watch Argentina lose to Saudi Arabia. So I'm kind of busy.
Yeah, I've been watching a lot of Shark Tank.
Nice. New season?
So these are like the same thing.
No, not a new season.
Just the same episodes that Pluto TV shows. I'm just like, I've already seen this. So I've seen this one like 3 times.
We're watching straight up on Hulu. That show is fascinating. It's like base level stupid brain, but also like a gigantic statement on America and capitalism.
Yeah. And you can pick up on like some sales
you skills. Absolutely you can just learn how business works in general and how much of it is like vibes based when it should not be.
My favorite is whenever it becomes like a pissing contest between two sharks they actually start bidding against each other on something.
It is distilled, like power distilled down to like its most raw form. It's also, by the way, guys, produced by Mark Burnett, who made Survivor. Like,
right, goat.
Yeah, talk about a rich motherfucker.
Hey, Survivor's heating up.
Yes, sir.
It's getting real good.
Mm-hmm. I'm a week behind, but it's a great season so far.
For Carla, I still think that she's getting that hero edit.
I love Carla.
Who do we got for the World Cup? Is it Germany?
Who's going to be We Bought a Mike's team?
Yeah, who are we pitching fortune?
You know, I love a good host nation, so Qatar, I really think they could actually pull it home. No, honestly, I was really big on Argentina this year. As just Lionel Messi's last dance, actually pulling it home. And then they did lose. They did give up 2 straight goals to Saudi Arabia to lose this morning. So they're still not out of it. Their group is pretty weak, so I still think they have a good shot of advancing. And then who knows where they'll go from there. Brazil's the favorite.
I just looked that up just now on Vegas Insider. You got Brazil and then France. Which
mad at US. US fucking blew it yesterday. Absolutely, just blew it against Wales.
I
really need to pick up that.
I hate to tell you that the US always sucks at fucking football.
Well, of course they do. Of course, but I'm an American. This is once every 4 years I get patriotic, and that's it.
Hey, man. Did Colombia even qualify?
No, Colombia did not qualify, Ernie. You can stop looking right now. Ecuador took their spot and knocked them out last minute.
All right. Well,
sorry, James.
Thank you all for tuning in. Thank you all for listening and watching. Please be sure to rate, review, subscribe, like, and comment. Thank you, beautiful donors, for donating. Become a donor at anchor.fm/WeBoughtAMic. And check out all our archives and reviews and articles over on the website as well. Next week, like I said, we got Andor season review coming at you. And then more Robin. Back to Robin with 1 hour photo and Death to Smoochie. And we'll probably catch up on some of these other movies that we mentioned here and give them a little bit more time. Things like Glass Onion and the big old fishes that we still have to catch at the end of the year, like Avatar: The Way of Water, Babylon, new Damien Chazelle, and The Whale, maybe? No. I think that's it. I think Avatar and Babylon are like the only two big ones
You're forgetting the sequel to the Holy Ghost trilogy. The Son.
Oh my God. Get the fuck out of here with
Because we already had the Father, now we're gonna have the Son.
I can't handle your bullshit anymore, Hunter.
Listen, I'm a good Irish Catholic who supports my country, supports my God and my country.
Sure. All right. Thanks for listening.
I drink me Sam Adams lager, winter ale.
Oh, we forgot to mention the donkey in Banshees of Inesherin, Donkey of the Year.
Yeah, we're gonna talk
Donkey of the Year.
Best when we get into the best animal of the year. She's up there. It might be tough to beat.
Beautiful.
Shout out to Jenny.
Have a happy Thanksgiving holiday. Be safe. Drink safe. And we will see you next time. We love you.
Bye.
Love you. Bye.
Bye.